Where we at? Anybody tired? Yeah. We should be tired. We should be tired of aggressiveness, selfishness, abuse. We should be tired of a lot of things that are going on. I went to the store today, and I was in that feeling, I don't need to talk a lot. I just need to do this, blah, 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 blah. Right? Just got to go and get my stuff, get back home. Right? You run into people, and I love people. I just simply adore people. And if when you go out in quote public settings and you're going out or around and you're connecting to souls, okay, that are living here too, and I love people, but I hate having to shop because I love King Solomon's Israel, and I hope that people, where I shop that are the cause of the shopping are understanding and learning from the people that shop there with me. I hope so. I hope this technology is helping people get better. I really do. And I long for that day when we're all living the preciousness. Thank you. Of the faith of Psalms and the wisdom of Proverbs. The wisdom of Proverbs is sustaining faith through humility. Okay. Solomon prayed for wisdom. Okay. How do I sustain the faith that's so difficult to maintain because of all the selfishness, the abuse of those that are not faithful, those that bastardize the glory of God, those that turn God into a first person as possessive pronoun and will fight for what they want and fight for what they want. Remember me and the young man today by the waters about, the nice thing about being different, okay, is that, we all have the same needs, but we all have different wants. And that's what's nice about being different, is we all have different wants. Okay. And because if we all had the same wants and we all have the same needs, we'd all be John Nash and thinking we're all fighting over the hot blonde, and we're not. We're not all fighting over the hot blonde. It's just that egomaniacs think that way, And that's why economists are economists, and that's why they hand out awards and say how brilliant they are. When that's stupid. It's stupid to think that way. It's stupid to think that we all want the same thing. I never did, And and I told him the little story about, because I got a movie I got to watch here with Lola Falana on it. I don't know, I'm doing time, so I might as well. But, when I told him a story about me and Mike Whalen, we looked similar and everybody thought we were related. And he liked Lonnie Anderson, who's a gorgeous, buxom blonde. And he asked me, who do you like the most of all this? I said, Lola Falana. Right. And he goes, why do you like Lola Falana? I said, why do you like Lonnie Anderson? We've turned this story many times, It's like, he's like, well, you didn't answer my question. Yes, I did. Why do you like Lola Falana? Why do you like Lonnie Anderson? Okay. I just answered your question by you being able to answer the question yourself. You like Lonnie Anderson. You're like, wow, she's just gorgeous. That would be, if I could find a girl that's like that, that would make me very, I'd find that very physically appealing to appeal to my wants from my needs. I felt the same way about Lola Falana, right? And so, we got to get people to understand that, that we all have the same needs, but we all have different wants. And that's not true. We don't all have the same needs. You need food, right? You need water. You need oxygen. You need photosynthesis and gravity. You need the light. You need infinite essence for the soul to exist. Okay, so we all have the same needs. Okay, but we all have different wants. And that's the nice thing about our differences. Okay. Muhammad, we have many people, many languages, to prove to human beings that God is great. Okay. God provides everything we need to live. Okay? And our different wants, if your wants put all our needs at risk, fuck you and your little dog True and the horse you rode in on, right? But if, I'm not going to fight you over Lola Falana if Lola Falana wants to be with you. That's just stupid, right? I'm not going to go all out of Preminger and set up economics to make it hard for Harold to be a father to his daughter and make it hard for Harold and Dorothy to have a birth that has an environment that provides a life for the daughter to be physically healthy. Smokey Robinson and his wife were out on the road doing what Harold and Dorothy had to do, and she had like 7 miscarriages, guys. All right. And go watch the movie about Hank Williams. This was not tuberculosis from being poor and fighting as a Jimmy Waters. High-powered mama. His life was miserable. He was not wealthy. And wealthy people live miserable lives. Like me and that young man we're talking about with the tattoo about Saved by Grace. And I sat there and I said, the kids crying. I go, shopping is hard for kids. And then people, not if the kid's wealthy. It's even harder then because they get anything they want and they become a spoiled, rotten brat. Okay? What's the solution? Proverbs. Okay? Proverbs is the solution to making shopping torture for children, right? Because life's eternal, grace is infinite, share, care, given according to need, build to last. So build these relationships, share, have it. We need it. There it is, right? Don't imagine, envision, and understand, okay? Working together, sharing, caring, giving according to need, putting places in, have a place like where a Walmart that's better because it has the frozen foods in a thing that like me and the young man and his wife talked about. What was his name again? Gosh damn it. He's a total sweetheart. He says, this is the best conversation I've ever had at Walmart. And his wife she was smiling. They were sweet. Everybody I meet, it's like, oh my gosh. I just love people, right? And today was one of those good days because it was, there was not one obnoxious, any piss ain't occurring your day. Not one. Okay. Today was wonderful. I went shopping and I wasn't going to talk. And I'm like, I'm so glad you talked. Because if I didn't, I wouldn't have got to, see the reflection of the soul and all the beautiful people I engaged with today. And I can't tell you how much I love people. I can't. I can't tell you. Because it's something you have to do and experience. It's not something you can tell to other people because so many people talk about love and yet they don't do it. But they talk about it more than most people should be allowed to do it. Okay? It's impossible, like I had that with a lady today, it's impossible not to love people. She was from Germany. She was wonderful. She's such a sweetheart, such a kind and caring person. Okay. And it's funny because she's very logical. Okay. And she goes, if it has no logic and it has no reason, I have absolutely no use for it. Right? None. And we talked about Hirschman. And we talked about Revelation in the book of Daniel. And she said, I know. I'm from Germany. And she said, and how these people talk and say they believe in things and they don't even understand the stories in the book that they think they believe in and where they happen, and who they happen to, and what happens to the people that participated and what happens to their descendants, right? Okay. When she looked at me and I told her that, I said, I know that Herschel and Adolf were related, and I know it's entirely tangible that my grandma Kramer was related more closely to Herschel. But since Herschel's related to Adolf. That means my grandmother's related to him, right? And people are, that's horrible. You do know Herod is Jesus' cousin and tried to hunt him down and kill him as a baby, right? Right? You do know that Haile Selassie was killed by Ethiopians, right? You do know the story about Muhammad with the dove's nest and the spider's web, right? Okay. You do know that Joseph was sold into slavery by his own siblings, right? Okay. So, and you get people, you're related to that person? Yes. I am one of them, and so are you. So let's all praise the Lord, right? And so, Suzuki's on me, and I get it. I understand. He's like, what I want you to do is we have to do this. I know there's chores and stuff you got to do and things, because I want you to start making time to take time to, when you're awake, because you're active when you're awake. And I want you to be aware, Judah Krishnamurti, how important meditation is, When you're awake, I want you to actively sit down and I do it a lot now. I catch myself lately, but I don't sustain it as long and as well as I should. My shoulders are tense. My thighs tense up. I get in the chair. The butt is clenched in the, and he's like, because you're stressed and everything's tight. And he goes, I want you to and let go of the abuse, let go of the intensity of the genocide, the mass murder, the insidiousness of it, the consciousness of it, the addiction to it that you're surrounded by and that is abusing you. And I want you to, understand that you have transcended it with your faith and that you did what was necessary. The reason it's taking time is because the other people are addicted to it and refuse to stop, right? And I'm like, yeah, I know. He goes, and don't let it torture you. I know it hurts. I know hearing people, a family dying from chemical poisoning and stress and praying to the spirit of you to save them and stop it. And it's like, I asked you please to stand for the Lord's Prayer with me, I'm angry with the abuse and the brain damage makes me upset. And I am, I don't let my anger towards the people doing it make me like them. What stresses me, and they know it, is the brain damage and the effects and the way people react to the brain damage, right? And what they're doing. Like, I was watching the news today to watch the weather report, and the gentleman that died in El Paso at Fort Bliss, right? And incarceration and institutionalization, right? And people get up and draw attention to me. We got to stop this and we got to stand up for something. We'll stand up for Psalms and Proverbs and stand up for the Lord's Prayer. Okay. You start sharing this and explaining it worldwide instead of having the little girl from the Big Bang Theory on Priceline commercials. No more Febreze, right? We don't need Febreze. You don't need Febreze. Every once in a while, I noticed because they were coming to clean, and I went in there and I used the chemicals to scrub out the toilet and then wipe it down, okay? Because I needed to. Because I just gotten so depressed, I didn't even scrub it out with the brush here for about a month because I was so damn depressed. Right? You don't become nose blind. You know it's there. You just realize it's a bathroom, but then you got to scrub it. Now I'll keep it scrubbed and won't hardly use the chemicals as much, for about 6 months or so because I'm coming out of my depression. But my depression isn't self-induced from selfishness. It's feeling the abuse of others that I care about that are depressed, and I'm not going to tune them out because I love them, right? And so, and I'm not going to. It's not going to change. I'm like Krishnamurti. I'm like Selassie. I'm like Teodoro Suzuki. I'm not going to. I'm not going to change who I am to accommodate selfish people to elongate their addiction. That's fundamentally flawed, and it's wrong. It's wrong thinking. It's wrong action. It's not proper authority. So I know what I have to go through, and that it's not going to stop being insidious and selfish and disgusting and torturous until I achieve what I need to achieve for it to stop. And when's that going to happen? Hopefully soon. We need hope when we're not living faithful love. So hopefully soon, right? When we're living faithfully, when we're sharing, we're using this technology to share what I've been doing, for the last 15 years, which should already be pretty much obvious. It's extraordinarily bizarre to me. Okay, that people can call themselves intelligence, or that they perceive themselves as intelligent. They think themselves intelligent. Okay. But they refuse to recognize the perfection of the applied physics of the Lord's Prayer and refuse to acknowledge it publicly, speak it publicly, so we can all interact that way publicly, and privately, But we have to do it publicly first, so then our private lives are our own. If we're living the Lord's Prayer and you want to go home and have your wife try to choke you to death because it makes you sexually get off and you end up dying from it, and I was standing, you were there, two worlds collided. That's your you deserve that privacy. I can't come in and say, you can't do that. That could get you killed. I don't want you finding ways to commit suicide through things that cause you what you think is pleasure through dysfunction. I can't do that. Okay. I don't have that right as an individual to take away your right to do things as a consenting adult for a consenting adult that might end up causing your demise. Okay? You're not taking kids and locking them in the basement and being, somebody from an M. Night Shyamalan movie, or, the Carl from the Cell. So so I can't come in and step in and say, hey, no, this is wrong, right? But when you incarcerate people because of genocidal philanthropy, okay, I've already proven beyond any reasonable doubt to all the technology in the world that does have access to me, and I have access to it. That's wrong. It's just the technology does not work as good as me. Okay. Suzuki told me that about 5 years ago. I don't think this technology works as good as you think it does. It's like, no, I know it's going to. He goes, yeah, I understand it's going to. But it's not working that good now, obviously. Right. Okay. So, but eventually it's going to have to. They keep talking about it's going to be more intelligent than them. It's going to, yeah, I get that. And then I'm like, why don't they understand that they don't have to be more intelligent than me? They just have to be as intelligent as me. And then we don't have to make sure that the technology ends up being more intelligent than them, right? I don't know. I'm not like them. I'm like you, right? So, last night when I was taking a shower, because he was stressed, this happens, his information about my physical health and being able to survive this was not correct through the people that he connects to in meditation in Japan. Okay. It's like, it seems to be that he can go through this depression and go through remission and still recover. How is this? Well, the technology is being used wrong, so it gave them wrong data, is what the man from Japan in my present or future told Suzuki, because Suzuki meditated to him in the past. And he had the information, and he was able to keep it private, having meditations with me, because they didn't have the same technology in his time that we have today, right? It's not hard to explain or figure out, right? That's why Jesus goes talk to Suzuki. Okay, and we're talking, and so the prayers already happened, the meditations already happened. Okay, so it's too late for the people to use the technology to try to manipulate them. And I'm like, what? And everybody's like, what are you talking about? Never mind, man. Maybe Nobel Prize winners will be able to explain it to you. But I have trouble, because they're like, oh, they can do this. No, they can't. Once something's already happened, you can't go back and change it. And everybody's like, yeah, you could break a wormhole. You could, but it's already happened. Okay, never mind. Sorry. Earl, yeah. So if something's already happened, and then you tried to make a wormhole to go to the past to change the outcome, okay? Did that happen or will that happen if the others already happened? You don't understand? Never mind. Okay. Say something's already happened and it put us all on the brink of destroying the entire planet and the existence of all that we know it on the planet, right? And then someone, because of what happened, stopped that from happening. And then other people, no, I want my outcome and I'm going to go back and make sure that that doesn't happen. Well, if it's not meant to happen, it will not happen. No matter how hard the scientific community tries, it's not going to happen. You see what I'm saying? So once it's already happened, it's happened. And that's why Suzuki and me were very, and he's like the best coach in the world. I was coming home tonight. Every time I go to Walmart, when I come out of Walmart, there's a strong connection. It's probably a mind fuck from Temple of Set Illuminati to Max and Emmy's mom, And it's a hard connection because everybody knows that, she's physiologically the type of person that I find very physiologically appealing, right? And so, and that's hard because when you've been abused and denied any romantic, intimate, and sexual relationships, and you're a very romantic and intimate person, and you're very faithful to those relationships, so it's very difficult when they torture you and say you can't have this, and then there's so you get out, and then they have this little thing in my head, and it's like, do you like her? Sometimes. And that's an acceptable answer. Do you love her? Always. Okay. Always and forever. Right. So do you love Max and Emmy's mom? Always. Beyond forever. Just like Maximum. Yeah, Maximum. I know him. Right. So, but do you like her? No, she's in business with the selfish, and they get lukewarm. They get this, when she gets that thing like, I think I want to connect to the living Lord and live the Lord's Prayer. Then I like her. And then when she goes back to doing a residency in Las Vegas, it's like, what do you like her? Sometimes. It's just so it makes sense, right? So there's nothing wrong with me. And I don't have a bad relationship eternally, spiritually in prayer with Max and Emmy's mommy. It's right where it should be because that's where we're at, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. So it's not working on a groovy thing, but I it is what it is, and I remain ever hopeful and ever vigilant. You know me, right? And so it's kind of cute. But we're sitting there, and I was getting home, and Suzuki, when I went to check the mail, which there was none, and he's explaining to me, well, Earl, you're exceptional. And he goes, no, you got to understand, I know they say that about athletes and things like that, and it's simply not true. Well, he's an exceptional athlete. No, he's not. Okay. Athletics is something that people do that they compete over. Okay. You are an excellent athlete. An exceptional athlete? You're an exceptional athlete because you stopped and walked away because it's part of genocidal, aggressive competition. You did not wish to participate. So you're exceptional, right? Like, oh, yeah, that's true. He goes, so when people, they're using the word wrong. Okay. When they have these athletes, he's an exceptional athlete. That's not true. He's an athlete. They're good at it. Are they as excellent as Earl? No, Earl's exceptional. So even at 59 years old, with chemical poisoning that makes it very difficult for me to sustain my physical existence, I'm still very exceptional. And he sat there and he said that. He goes, Earl, how many times have you've had this stuff with the leg that happened back in 2000 and when did they do that to me? It was 2017, right? Going on 18. 16, now going on 18. That these problems started happening with you health-wise. And it's 2026. Okay, that's 8 years ago. Okay. And you've through patience and surviving their abuse, and they build it up and then they let you recover and then they screw you again. He goes, you go into remission and then they come up there, they yo-yo you the whole time to get people that believe in you to feel like they want to die. And I'm like, yeah, I understand that. But like me and the little girl at Walmart who checked out the stuff when I went to Dad's YouTube TV thing. When I was talking to her about it, and I said, that you cannot, I help people, okay? You cannot help people trying to hide from the abuse and not help people through the abuse, especially when you're the focal point of stopping the abuse, right? So you can't just sit there and go, I'm not going to let anything disturb my mama say, and I'm going to save myself because I have to save people because I'm the focal point of saving people from genocide, right? So it's more important that I physically stay alive and survive than people that don't believe in me, okay? People want to believe in me, okay? But the big thing is that with this is if you, okay, cannot believe in the truth of the Lord that lives with you, what makes you think you would have believed in the truth of the Lord that lived before you that you claim is your Lord? Okay. So if you can't believe that I'm the Lord of Israel, okay, that migrated here because we have trains and boats and planes, okay, and my grandmother came away from ancient Germany not to be killed because she is the woman who produces the child who's like the little guy that Herod tried to hunt down and kill as a baby when he was young, right? So, and it says so in the Bible, right, in Revelation. And so if you can't believe in me, what makes you think you would have believed in Jesus, right? And he does look like son of man. And, the little girl today I was talking to, what is her name? She's so sweet, from South Africa. I saw her again and her children. And the boys look so much like Steve, You can see Steve's eyes and you look at him, and she said, no, it says in the Bible, you need to read the book of Revelation. I read the book of Revelation. It's about my life. It's about Earl, born of Ralph and Mary. Okay, what's the thing with the face of Christ? When I first saw the face of Christ in my generation that redeemed the Gospels and trying to get us to live that way, it was in the face of, and I looked at her son and said, that was him. Okay. It was the face of Steve Biko, right there. Okay. You see it? Okay. That was the face of Christ, okay, that wanted us to live the ways of Christ that I knew when I was a kid. I talked to him and Bob in prayer extensively, okay. And because I sat down to write this book, and I had meditation and was trying to talk to Jesus and Muhammad, they said, talk to the people in your time. Talk to the people in your time that know the people that are like us in your time, And what man, through my tribes and where I live and where I love, and, the people that have, sexual relations to my family, okay, and migration and diaspora, in my time, what man is more like me than Haile Selassie? None, right? Okay. And then people, but Steve's from South Africa, yes. Okay. Trains and boats and planes. We'll talk later. I'll see if this one will load. I didn't see how long it was getting. It's almost on 30 minutes. We'll talk tomorrow. I got to get this one loaded, and then I got to go to sleep. Okay. I love you very much. Don't let your finite mind corrupt the infinite beauty of the soul with things having to be and look like you. Okay, we're judged by our deed. Okay, I love you. All right, peace. We'll talk tomorrow.